Okay, let's find some ratios. What's the ratio of 720 miles to 30 miles? Well, that ratio is 720 miles divided by 30 should be miles, and I've written it mites. Okay? And of course, if we divide this out, the miles divide the miles. 30 goes into 720 24 times. Miles over miles is just unit over itself, which is 1, and that just gives us 24. It's a pure ratio of 24. 12 feet to 4 feet. Ratio is 12 feet divided by 4 feet, or 3. It says 12 feet is 3 times as much as 4 feet. This one says 720 miles is 24 times as great as 30 miles. 405 pounds to 175 pounds, the ratio is 405 pounds divided by 175 pounds. The pounds divide out. 405 divided by 175 would be, it'd reduce. If we divide both of these by 5, we get 81 here, and we get what, 35 here. And that is approximately, if we want to do a decimal equivalent, equal to 2 point, it's a little less than 2.3, maybe 2.26, question mark. Actually, it's pretty close to 2.3. I think it's a little higher than that. You check my arithmetic, but that's the ratio. Now you notice that the ratio can be approximated by decimal. We could even write an exact decimal. I think it would be repeating and non-terminating, but we could write the exact expression in decimal form. 81 over 35, a little more than 2. What's the ratio of 6 gallons to 3 quarts? Well, in the first place, we could divide 6 by 3 and get 2, but the ratio isn't 2. That's because gallons and quarts aren't the same thing. We'd better write this as, instead of 6 gallons, 6 times 4 quarts, because there are 4 quarts in a gallon. So that's 24 quarts over 3 quarts, which is 8. 6 gallons is 8 times as much as 3 quarts. What about 11 miles to 1,200 yards? Well, we could write 11 miles over 1,200 yards, but that's not going to help a whole lot, because miles and yards are different measures, and we can't just divide 11 by 1,200. That would make it look like 11 miles is less than 1,200 yards, which certainly ain't the case. Okay? Now 11 miles, a mile is 1,760 yards, and we divide by 1,200 yards, and we get a number. Okay, I'm not actually going to get that number, but it's some number that you can get by dividing, and the yards will divide the yards, so it'll be a unitless number, just a pure number. And that number is going to be approximately 16 and a half, a little less than 16 and a half, 16.2, 16.3, something like that. Okay? 16.2, you can check my mental arithmetic. This is a quick calculation. Okay, 6,000 pounds to 3 ounces is 6,000 pounds divided by 3 ounces. Well, pounds and ounces aren't the same thing, so we'd better have 6,000 pounds being expressed as 6,000 times 16 ounces. Then we divide that by 3 ounces, and we get 6,000 times 16 is 96,000 ounces divided by 3 ounces, and that equals 32,000. Those are some examples of ratios, and ratios tell you how much greater one quantity is than another. Not how much greater in an additive fashion, but how many times greater in a multiplicative fashion. So, how many of these would it take to make one of these? How many times as big as this is this?